Master of Magic, an absolute gem of a game that I'd always play back when I was a kid. From Richard Darling, the same man that brought us BMX Simulator, comes an extremely rich text and graphical adventure that is as challenging as it is engrossing. The backstory is told in scrolling text on the main screen. One day, the unnamed main character is exploring a cavern, presumably, but not explicitly, in the real world, when a hand erupts from a pool, grabs him and pulls him through the looking glass into a strange mythical world of magic and mystery. The hand turns out to belong to Thelric, the titular Master of Magic, and that unnamed character is you. Thelric will return you to your own world if you can retrieve the lost Amulet of Immortality and return it to the pedestal at the opening cavern of the game. Sounds good, right? Master of Magic is a relatively small, brisk role-playing action game in which your character is represented by a yellow dot and has to navigate several caverns and labyrinths, killing creatures along the way and collecting various items. It uses an innovative interface in which a limited perspective auto map is represented in the upper left, messages appear in the upper right, graphics for monsters and items in the local environment appear at the bottom, and commands appear in the middle. The map display is very small, but it offers a realistic line of sight display, so you can only see what is currently visible from your character's perspective. What is hidden behind walls, corners and doors remains invisible. On the other hand, this leads to surprising encounters when you walk around a corner or enter a room, but it also means that you have to examine rooms closely to discover possible exits. A successful game takes no more than an hour, and as such there is no save feature. People may say that the game isn't technically a role-playing game as there's no character development or levelling, and there is also no character creation, so each time you start the game you begin with no equipment, but Thelric has bestowed you with the ability to cast 4 spells. Magic Missile, which fires a flaming arrow at any living target in sight. If it hits, it deals significant damage, but the chance of missing its target is high. Fireball, which creates a fireball 15 feet in diameter that damages everyone in that radius except you. Energy Drain, which directly drains life from any living target in sight. And Magical Shield, which creates a magical shield around your character, protecting them from attacks. This will remain active and consume magic until deactivated. Status bars monitor spellcasting ability, represented by M for mind, and a health meter represented by B for body health. As you wander the maze, you will fight creatures like bats, skeletons, spiders, snakes, orcs, hellhounds, wizards, and even a vampire. Slowly but surely, you assemble a set of weapons, armour, potions, and magic rings. It's quite a difficult game really, in the sense that your offensive spells deplete the mind meter extremely quickly, with 2 or 3 castings of fireball depleting the bar fully. Meanwhile, enemies pound away at your body meter if you engage them in melee combat. These bars do not restore on their own, there is no way to rest up, and there are only 2 healing potions and 1 restore magic potion in the whole dungeon. This means that you can swiftly get into a situation where you've lost too much health or spent too much magic power to have any hope of surviving the rest of the dungeon. For this reason, even a modern player with save states face a significant challenge. When I was a kid, I really struggled to make it to the end. I see now where I probably went wrong, because being an inquisitive soul, I played it like a traditional RPG, in which you try to kill every monster. That's a recipe for disaster, since monsters don't deliver any kind of experience or levelling, and because the game's various items are always found in the same locations and guarded by the same creatures, there are quite a few areas that it simply doesn't pay to explore at all. Multiple playthroughs will be necessary to map these areas into your memory banks, or you could create some sort of map with traditional pen and paper. Here's some I created though, showing the locations of all the enemies and also the weapons, armour and potions. Master of Magic is a game that is primarily about trial and error and note-taking. You have to field a host of unsuccessful tries before you understand the specific route you should take through the map, and what items you should acquire in what order, minimising your combat engagements and thus loss of health and magic through your journey. Oh, and probably the most important item you need to seek out is the backpack, as you can only carry 2 objects at a time without this. There's also a potion you can find after eliminating an orc that has the description Alumrov Eknigeletni Artexi, which I only realised many years later when read backwards says Extra Intelligence Formula. Very clever. Through trial and error, I discovered a couple of things that will definitely help you along your way. First, you need to just avoid a slew of enemies in a small cave near the beginning. They have nothing useful and only serve to sap your naked character's strength. Second, you want to make a beeline for the suit of armour as soon as possible, but this is being worn currently by an orc, so maybe obtain a dagger before you take on this mean green machine. Third, with the sole exception of spiders, who seem vulnerable to single castings of magic missile, you really don't need to use any spell except Magical Shield. This is a low-cost spell that makes combats much less deadly, thus preserving the body bar for as long as possible. The manual is proud of the artificial intelligence techniques attached to the various enemies, and I suppose it deserves a little credit. In an era where most games feature enemies who just rush the player, the Master of Magic has 3 enemy behaviours. The first is to largely ignore the character unless he's right on top of them. Snakes fit this mould. You can largely bypass such creatures instead of risking combat against them. The second 2 behaviours have to do with what happens if the player can turn a corner and leave the enemy's view. Some foes go to where they last saw the character and hang out. Others follow relentlessly around corners and through doors. Combat consists of nothing more than choosing attack from the menu and hoping you hit more than you miss, and the enemy does the opposite. Better weapons increase the chances of hitting and the damage done. The order seems to go dagger, mace, axe and sword, but this is also dependent on the enemy, where the mace will come in handy for crushing bones when used against a skeleton. And also I found it easy to hit the snake with a dagger than a sword. Makes logical sense. A helmet, a shield and the suit of armour reduce the chances of the enemy hitting and reduce damage done. I think the Ring of Dexterity improves accuracy, and the Ring of Protection from Evil reduces damage. There were a couple of other rings that I couldn't tell what they did, but I wore them all anyway, and ended up with 5 rings near the end of the game. I was looking more like Mr. T. As you explore, you find scrolls that provide hints. At least one of them lies. There is no wizard named Legolas who heals your wounds. There is, however, a wizard who attacks you and is best avoided. But one scroll talks about the importance of using a wooden dagger to kill vampires, and another says that the Minotaur will fall to the dagger of death. Since one of the game's 2 vampires has the dagger of death, it's inevitable that you'll have to face one during the course of the game, so seek out the wooden dagger. Once you have killed the vampire and acquired the dagger of death, enough protective equipment and at least half a bar of health remaining, you win the game by taking on the Minotaur, killing him and retrieving the amulet from a cave beyond him. Regardless of its cute appearance, the Minotaur is a truly worthy boss who will give you a hard time if you're not fully equipped, but should only take 2 hits with the dagger of death. It's just a case of getting those hits in before he completely annihilates you. Returning the amulet to the first screen and dropping it on a pedestal produces the endgame message, which isn't very satisfying after such an epic journey, but an achievement all the same. I can't revisit this and not mention the legendary composer Rob Hubbard, and the music is a real catchy tune that plays throughout the entire game, unless you turn it off by pressing the M key. When designing the game's music, Hubbard was inspired by the instrumental piece Shibboleth by the American keyboard virtuoso Larry Fast. who released this track on his album Odeon in 1981. In the event of your character's death, a separate short sequence is played for the game over notification. Whenever I died in the game, this piece of music sent a shiver up my back as a kid. If you're a fan of this, then there's another game you should check out that pays homage to the Mastertronic classic Master of Magic, with The Lord of Dragonspire. It received a general release via Cytronic Software, and is a game worth considering purchasing if you are a fan of the genre. Yes, the scrolling issue and the high difficulty setting does threaten to turn many away from the game who don't have the time, but if you do persist and take on the strategy we mentioned earlier, avoiding combat where possible, then your time spent should be well rewarded. Thanks for watching, guys. Absolutely classic game for me, this. I still really love playing it through to this day, and just get lost in the music. What did you think of Master of Magic? Hit the like button and let me know in the comments section. It'd be good to get your feedback. As always, I kindly ask that if you're enjoying the nostalgia, then maybe consider subscribing to the channel, and do be sure to check out the other games on the playlists, as there's a whole load of memories just waiting to be rediscovered. Hopefully, I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, bye for now.